Hey everyone, welcome to Long Game Yoga. I'm Ken. This flow is going to focus on our hip flexors. So these are muscles that when we're active, we use them all the time. I mean, we use them for walking, but for running and for cycling and all kinds of other sports, we get into those hip flexors. And so we want to keep them strong and balanced. And one of the unfortunate realities is that, we spend a lot of time sitting, and when we're just sitting there, these muscles are getting shorter and a little bit weaker. So we want to keep them nice and strong, nice and balanced if we can. That's what this flow is going to do. It's really going to just key in on those. So let's get started on our back. We are going to use a strap for this flow and the two blocks. So let's just start on our backs. And you can really start any way that's comfortable for you. A lot of people like to start with their legs bent, and that's fine. You can start with your legs out straight. Have your strap handy. You're gonna want to just grab it in a second here. But just come to a point of a little bit of stillness here on the mat first thing. So just take a deep breath in, and then on a deep breath out, just let all your muscles soften for a second. Allow everything to just settle onto the mat and feel heavy and relaxed. Bring that attention to the breath. Really let the lungs fill up as you inhale, and then really let them empty out as you exhale. And then you could start to maybe fall into a rhythm of breath that's a little bit more directed than your normal pace of breathing. So you might just think about filling the lungs more fully with each breath. You may also use a count of 4 or 5 with each inhale and then with each exhale. Just appreciate the fact that you're taking a little time out of your day to focus on your hip flexors. They need it. So at the end of your next exhale, let's come into our first active pose. So let's just make it our reclined mountain pose. So we're straightening the legs, the feet are flexed, we're pressing the heels down into the mat, we're pointing the tailbone toward those heels. Press the thighs down, press the heels down, pull the kneecaps up. Maybe think about pushing your big toe mound forward, peeling the pinky toe side edge of your foot back a bit. And then staying right here, go ahead, leave that left leg in place, pull the right knee into your chest and really give it a squeeze. Pull it in tight. And push the shin up into your fingers if you're interlacing or just grabbing. And then maybe take some circles. So we're moving the femur around in the hip socket here, going one direction, going the other direction, maybe just rolling out your ankle while you're here as well. And then we're going to grab the strap. We're going to bring around the ball of the foot. And we're going to extend that foot up to the ceiling or the sky. And then for just a second, let the leg drop forward a bit. Make sure it's nice and straight. So here we want to feel that nice engagement of the quad. Left quad is also engaged. We're not checking out on that side either. And then once the leg is nice and straight, you can kind of use a little bit of pressure with your hands on the strap to pull the foot toward the wall behind you. Don't go so far that you start to flatten your low back to the mat. We want to keep that little tilt of the pelvis so that we're getting the most out of this stretch here. Keep the breath flowing. Try not to strain in your face, your neck, your shoulders. Pushing the ball of the foot up into that strap. And then we're going to move the strap out of the way and just hold the leg up for a second. So just feel that engagement of the muscles. You might feel the deep belly muscles engaged here. You might feel those hip flexors starting to turn on. And then slowly, let's go ahead and lower that leg. Take your time, right? You can just drop it, but if you're slowly lowering it, those muscles that we're looking at are starting to wake up a bit, and you'll feel it. Keep extending out through the heel as you lower that foot down. And then when it finally hits the mat, where is it? There it is. The feet can just drop out to the side. You can feel how it might feel, it might be a little less congested feeling on that right side. And then we'll come back to that reclined mountain post. So we're activating the legs again. This time it's the right leg staying in place. We're pulling the left knee into the chest, taking whatever movements you took on the other side. Just starting to say hello to everything. And then we're going to take the strap around the left foot. And we're going to extend that one up to the ceiling. You can keep that right heel grounded on the mat. Right leg is strong. Lifted leg is strong. And again, if you want to do that thing where you kind of drop the leg down a bit, make sure it's nice and straight. So it's really, we do that because it's important that the leg is straight. That's going to give us the stretch. What does not matter is how close that foot is getting behind you, right? Or toward the wall behind you, because we want the hamstring stretching here, and that's going to look different for different people. Some people are very open, very naturally flexible, and that foot could like practically touch the floor behind them. I've seen that. And then there are other people that are going to go this far, and that's as far as they're going to ever go, but they're getting a nice hamstring stretch. So just be honest with yourself about where you're feeling that stretch. You want to be sort of right at that edge. You don't want to feel any weird pain, but you do want to feel that good engagement. So we'll take one more round of breath here. And then we'll go ahead, slide the strap off, keep the foot lifted for a moment, leg nice and straight. And then you can start using that nice long exhale if you want, lowering the foot down to the mat. Eventually, once it lands, you can let the feet drop out to the side again. See if you brought a sense of balance side to side here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do some more direct engagement of those muscles before we get up off of our back here. So what I'd like you to do is take your hands in your thumb area or your fists and kind of nestle them right down around your sit bones. And then what I want you to do is lift both legs up to the ceiling. So this is like what we were doing before, except we're doing it with both legs here. And you'll feel that engagement. We're going to give ourselves a little bonus core work here too. So take an inhale, and then on the exhale, go ahead and lower the legs about a third of the way to the floor. Take an inhale, exhale another third of the way. Inhale, and then lower so you're just hovering those heels above the mat. And then nice long inhale to lift the legs back up. And we'll do it again. So take an inhale, exhale, we're lowering the legs about a third of the way. Inhale, they're coming down another third. Inhale, and on the exhale, they come down to just hover. We're going to do that one more time. Yeah, this is tough, but it's not easy, and it's pretty early in our flow, but we'll do it. Let's take an inhale. On the exhale, we come down that first third. Inhale, come down that second third. Inhale, exhale your way down so that the heels are just hovering. Nice job, everyone. And then inhale the legs back up, and then you can pull the knees into the chest, breathe a big sigh of relief, maybe roll up and down the length of the spine, maybe taking some circles here. And then we're going to make our way up and over. Bring that strap toward the front of your mat. We'll use it again. We're coming to our tabletop. So from this tabletop, and we want to be a little meticulous with our tabletop. So we want the shoulders over the wrists. Spread the fingers wide. I like to turn either the hands out a little bit, right? Or so the index fingers are parallel to one another. Wrist creases are parallel to the short edge of the mat in front of you. We're stacking the hips over the knees, reaching the big toes back, seeing if you get all 10 toes on the mat. And on your next inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze, pull the heart forward, lift the hips. We're coming through our cow pose. And then exhale, rounding through the spine, moving into our cat pose. And we're just going to flow with this. So inhale through your cow. Exhale through your cat. Feeling that nice, graceful wave motion moving through your spine. Getting into the vertebrae and the disc, sort of one at a time as you have this motion. We're stretching the front body. We're stretching the back body. We're compressing the front body and the back body as well. So we'll take one more round. And then from here, we're going to come back to our tabletop. Let's step the right foot back, so you're on the ball of the foot, and take a couple rocks back and forth. You'll feel that stretch all the way down the leg, the back of the leg. Like I feel it in the calf when I'm pushing the heel to that furthest point back. Then we'll bring the shoulders over the wrists, and on the inhale, go ahead, hover that right leg up. We're going to set up for a spinal balance here. So go ahead, add that left arm. So the left arm is up by the left ear. We're just reaching the fingers, reaching the heel, getting nice and long. Engage the quad muscles on the lifted leg. Nice. And then we'll lower that down, lower the hand, lower the leg. I like to roll onto the back of that right wrist for a second because it was just supporting a good amount of weight. Find your tabletop again, and then we're stepping the left foot back. We're just adding in those rocks back and forth. And you can play around with, where the foot is, what the angle is, how far back you're pressing, and you just notice. You can really impact how that feels with those tiny details. And then we'll bring the shoulders over the wrists, and on the inhale, this time we're floating that left foot up. So trying to get the heel about hip height. I know it's tough to see. You can look under, make sure that the toes are pointing straight down. We're not trying to open the hip up, we're just pushing through the heel. And then we're going to add that right arm up by the right ear. Again, extension. Think about length. Don't really think about height. That doesn't matter. We do want the arm roughly by the ear. We do want the heel roughly hip height. We want everything nice and engaged here. Keep breathing. And then lower the hand, lower the leg, maybe come onto the back of that left hand for a second. And then we're going to find our child's pose. So go ahead. Bring the sides of the big toes together, separate the knees a bit, lower the hips down to the heels. You can keep your arms out in front of you if you'd like. Take a deep breath and let it go. Grounding down into the mat, feeling the breath in the ribs on your back, that rib cage expanding and contracting. And then from here, we're just going to reach the arms as far forward as they go. Lift the elbows, and then lift the hips, tuck the toes. We're going to make our way to our first down dog of this flow. So because it's the first one, we want to emphasize that the spine is nice and long. So the arms are straight. My hands, again, the index fingers, you can take a peek up. They're either parallel, making the number 11, or maybe they're turned out a bit. Spinning the upper arm out. So you're rolling the biceps forward, getting long from the wrist crease to the sit bones. And at this first one, I like to bend my knees pretty deeply just to try and see if I can imagine I can get my spine a little bit longer. And then maybe straighten the legs, maybe come up high onto the toes, then lower the heels, and eventually just settling into stillness. But if you really want to walk out your dog, bending one knee and the other, you could, of course, do that. Take the movement that feels right for you right now. And then from here, we're going to look forward. We're going to step the right foot to the right thumb. Then we're going to drop the left knee, untuck the toes. Grab your blocks. And we're going to put them on either side of that front foot. We're just going to look, make sure we've got our knee above the ankle. That's an alignment we like to pay attention to. It's not as as critical in this pose because we're not completely weight bearing on this front leg because we have that back knee down. But it's just a good habit to get into because when we do this, when the back leg is lifted, there is more weight on it, and we want to work to protect these ligaments that are in the knee. We don't want to overstretch them unavoidably. It's good to have range of motion, of course. But we also want to be thoughtful because ligaments are those things that are going to stretch and they're not going to really stretch back as well. But what I want you to focus on more, once you've just set that alignment up, is how the front of your left hip crease is feeling right now. So you want to feel a nice stretch across there. We're really getting into the hip flexors here, especially if you let the hips kind of swing down and forward. Press the top of that left foot into the mat and feel, as soon as you do, you get this nice engagement with those hip flexors, even more engagement really. We'll take one more round of breath here. And then go ahead, you can move those blocks out of the way. We'll frame up the front foot, tuck the back toes, lift the knee, and we're going to step back to down dog. So just coming back to down dog. This time we're looking forward. It's the left foot that comes to the left thumb. We're dropping the right knee, untucking the toes, taking those blocks up again. And same thing, if you need to, lengthen your stance, go ahead and do that. But we want to feel those hip flexors on the right side, really getting a nice stretch here. And this is, kind of a passive stretch because, we do have our hands on these blocks. We are letting gravity do a lot of the work. We're not really forcing anything. We're just waking everything up. Keep your breath moving. And you might find that as you exhale, you can sink a little more deeply into this. The exhale sends that signal to the nervous system that it's okay to relax. It's okay to be here. And that can help squeeze a little bit of extra juice out of this stretch. Nice. All right, let's move those blocks out of the way again. Frame up the front foot, and we'll step back into our down dog. Take a nice stretch in this down dog. And then let's look forward. Let's just walk our feet to our hands. You can step up. And then we're going to come into our halfway lift. So straighten the legs and straighten the spine, right? Get that torso nice and straight. We don't want to bring too much weight into the heels. We want to bring more to the front of the feet. And think about pulling the heart forward, pulling the crown of the head forward. You can rest your hands lightly on your shins. But we want to feel that work here. So on the opposite side of the legs, we want to get into those two. So this is strengthening and stretching the hamstrings. That was almost a mouthful. And then go ahead, exhale, forward fold. Let your head hang heavy here. And if you want to separate your feet just a little bit more, maybe grab opposite elbows and sway the torso from side to side. It's a nice way to release the low back. It's a nice way to stretch the hamstrings a little bit more. Traction out the neck with the weight of the head. And then if you did take some kind of bind with your hands, you can bring the hands back to the mat, heel toe your feet in a little bit closer together. And then on the inhale, we're going to come up with a nice flat back. So inhale as you lift. Hands come to heart center. Let's take just a half sun. So inhale the arms up. Exhale is that swan dive to your forward fold. Inhale brings us back to that halfway lift. Exhale brings us back down again, forward fold. Press down through the feet again as you rise. Hands come to heart center. So let's flow through one Surya Namaskar A sun salutation A. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, hinge and fold. Inhale to that nice flat back. Keeping the lift. We're going to plant the hands. We're going to step back. Finding our plank pose. And you can always drop your knees to the mat if you'd prefer a modified plank. If you're in a full plank, you're just pushing through the heels, feeling nice and strong, not letting the hips sink or pike. And then we'll exhale, lower all the way down to the mat. We'll keep the elbows grazing the ribs. Keep the hands by the low ribs here. We're going to set up for a low cobra. So activate the feet, press the feet into the mat, lift the kneecaps. Inhale, lift the head, neck, and chest up off the mat. Roll those shoulders back, pin those elbows toward one another. Pull the heart forward. And then exhale, chin comes down. We're going to tuck our feet in, push up through a plank. Use your exhale to push up. And then up and back, finding our down dog. So nice inhale here in this down dog. We'll take a couple rounds of breath. With our sun salutes, it's usually 5 breaths is the traditional breath count. Getting long from the wrist crease to the sit bone, and from the sit bone down through the heels. And then from here, we're going to look forward. We're going to step the right foot to the right thumb again. This time we're going to stay balanced on the ball of that back foot. Let's grab our blocks to frame the front foot. We're finding this diagonal lunge shape. So this is where, again, we want to really make sure we've got the knee above the ankle. We're pressing down through the heel of that right foot and then firming up the quads of the left leg. So there's a little bit that we're getting into those hip flexors there. Pushing through that heel, extending the torso out over the front leg. And then from here, we're going to straighten into the front leg, getting into the back of that right leg. Keep that left leg also nice and strong. Pull the heart forward. If you want to hinge forward, you can do that. But I wouldn't want you to do that if it means you're going to start to curl your spine end. So try and keep the back pretty straight. One more round of breath. And then let's rebend the front leg. Maybe widen your stance a little because we're going to set up for a high lunge here. So when you're ready, bring your hands to your hips. Lift the torso. But as you do, bend that back knee nice and deeply. We want to be able to come up without crashing into that low back area. And once we get upright, we want to level off the pelvis. So we're not tipping forward or tipping back. We're kind of in almost an easy Tadasana feeling on that left side. And then from here, try and straighten into that back leg a little bit. So this is where you're going to feel that nice hip flexor engagement again, nice stretch. We're going to take some knee tap downs, I'm very sorry to say. Not everybody's favorite. Well, some people love them. I actually really like them. But what we're going to do is we're going to try not to bounce up and down, and we're not trying to touch the knee to the mat. So we're not doing that. What we're going to do is we're going to see if we can straighten the back leg all the way and then bend it as much as you can. Inhale to straighten. Exhale to bend. Inhale to straighten. Feel that really gets into the hip flexor. Exhale to bend. And then we'll straighten again. Nice. If you want to lift your arms up overhead, you can do that. If you want to touch your palms, look up. If you're feeling steady, that would be cool. And then you can bring your hands down to the blocks. We'll kick them out of the way. We'll step back to plank. There's a vinyasa here if you'd like, so you can lower halfway down or all the way down. If you're halfway down, it's the toes that slide back, and you inhale into your upward facing dog. Otherwise, you can stick with your low cobra if you'd lower it all the way. And then the exhale brings us up and back. We're finding our down dog. Take a couple rounds of breath. And then we're going to look forward. We're stepping the left foot forward this time, grabbing our blocks, staying balanced on the ball of the back foot. And again, we want to keep that torso just hovering over the front leg. You're pushing back through the right heel. Nice deep bend in the front leg. And you can totally just keep your hands on the blocks here. It brings the floor up to us. We like that. It's a good way to use these tools. If you want it to be a little more intense, you can just lift your hands, floating them. Maybe even bring them to heart center if you want to. Keep both legs really working here. And then we're going to bring the hands down to the blocks if you moved them. Straightening into that front leg, straightening into that back leg, keeping the back as straight as you can. And depending on how tight things are, you might have a little bit of, maybe not a sharpest angle in the back, but when you've got everything straight, it feels a certain way. You can think about pressing the big toe mound of that left foot that you're looking at down into the mat. Maybe even lift the toes up. And try not to lock your knees, especially if you have like hyperflexibility, which if you have that, you have that. So a soft little bend in that front leg can be useful. All right, let's rebend the front leg. We're gonna set up for that high lunge, or crescent lunge, some people like to call it. So maybe separate your feet a little, bring your hands to your hips, and as you come up, that's when you're bending that back leg. Make sure you're steady. Make sure that your pelvis is okay, so it's not tipping too far forward either way, or really even side to side. Oh, that should be pretty even. And then start to push through that right heel, getting into that hip crease, feeling those hip flexors. Get a nice stretch. And we're going to do the same bending of the back leg. So these sort of knee tap downs. So exhale or inhale to push your heel back. You can do it either way, I suppose. And then exhale as you bend that back leg. Inhale to push it back. Exhale to bend it. Inhale to push it back. Exhale to bend it. Oh, that's a killer. And then push it back. Nice. Maybe sink a little more deeply into that lunge. Awesome. And then hands come down. You can step back to plank. You could just head back to down dog if you like. Otherwise, we'll throw in a vinyasa here. And then we'll make our way back to that down dog. Getting a nice stretch here in this down dog. And then from this down dog, let's come to child's pose. So drop the knees, separate the toes a bit, or separate the knees. Drape the torso in there. Just allowing that heat to settle for a moment. And you can stay here longer if it feels nice. Otherwise, we're going to make our way back to down dog. So you just reach those hands forward. Tuck the toes, lift the hips. We're coming back to our down dog. Settle into this nice long down dog. And then looking forward, you can either step or hop your feet up to your hands. Inhale back into that flat back, that halfway lift. Exhale, fold over, and then inhale, root down through your feet as you rise. Hands to heart center. So check this out. We're going to take our strap, and we're going to make a little loop. We're going to bring that loop around the ball of the right foot. So if you can do this just by grabbing your toe, I know plenty of people that can do that. Maybe you're lucky enough to be one. I am not typically. So you can use the strap this way. If you don't have a strap with a loop, you could just, bring it around the foot and hold both ends of the strap. That'll do you just as well. And then before we go anywhere, just find Tadasana. So even weight on both feet. You just chill. Everything is stacked. We've got this nice plumb line from the crown of the head to the shoulders, to the hips, knees, ankles. You know the song. Your kid does, if you have one. So, shifting a little weight into the standing leg, which is going to be the left leg. Go ahead, lift that right knee up to about hip height. And then we're going to straighten into the leg, walk the hand down the strap. So like we did at the start when we were on our back, the leg should be straight. The lifted leg should be straight. Doesn't matter how high it goes. Just keep it straight. Keep it in place. Keep breathing. And then try this, just let go of the strap. You're holding the leg up. Hip flexors are just doing the work here. There you go. We'll hold it for another breath. And then you can let the leg come down. That's one of those ones that seems pretty simple, and then you're doing it. You're like, how has time slowed down so much? Why is this so hard? That's yoga. So, coming back to Tadasana, we've got the strap on the other foot. This time it is the left foot. Balancing the weight out for a second, not thinking too much about what we're going to do. Shift the weight into the standing leg, bend the left knee, straighten the left leg, walk that hand down that strap. Or you're holding your toe, that's fine too. And if you're holding your toe, you can just come up, you grab the toe and just come straight up like that. That's a move that people like. Keep breathing. Keep the gaze fixed on something that's not moving. The Sanskrit for that is dristi. It's that little focal point that helps with balance. I think dancers use that too. If you've still got the strap, let it go. See if you can keep the leg at the same height while keeping your balance. One more round of breath. Nice. Then you can lower the foot. We'll get that strap out of the way. Let's come to the front of the mat. We're going to take another vinyasa just to kind of bring some symmetry back. So inhale the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, you can make your way back. Either taking the vinyasa or you can skip the vinyasa and just head right back to your down dog. And we're coming back to down dog. So then from here, go ahead, drop your knees. Come down onto your seats. I want to try this. This is kind of a cool way to get into hip flexors. I'm going to show it to you with blocks. If you don't want to do that, you could just lie flat on the mat. But I'm going to set up one block that's going to go under my heels. A second block, and they're both on the flattest height, is going to go under my shoulder blades. So it takes a little bit of finagling to get everything in exactly the right spot. So you just kind of estimate, get the feet on there, get the block under the shoulders. And then what we're going to do, I'm resting my butt on the mat right now. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift my glutes up. I'll use the proper terms. My glutes up off the mat. Heels are pressing down on that other block. You can stay right here. This is a nice workout for some strengthening. Or you can go ahead, lift one of those legs up. Lift the right leg. Maybe interlace your fingers behind your head just so that they're not doing anything weird. And then you can go ahead and lower that foot down. Then lift the left leg up. Hold it. Keep breathing. Don't hold your breath. Like, I'm guilty of that. Sometimes if something's really intense, I just think somehow that holding the breath is going to help. It doesn't. Then you go ahead and lower that left foot down, and then lower your hips down to the mat. And then for a second, if it's okay on your head, you can even let your head just kind of hang back. Get this nice chest opening while we're here. And then we're going to go ahead, just sit up carefully. And let's do this. This will be the last challenging thing that we're going to do. So let's extend our legs out in front of us. Staff pose, Dandasana, Paschimottanasana. We'll take a forward fold in a minute. But before we do that, what I want to do is, again, isolate these hip flexors. So one of the ways that we can do that is by just sitting up nice and tall, and then just lift the right heel up off the mat. Hold it, hold it, hold it, and then let it down. We'll do it on the left side. Lift it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Okay, so that feels pretty good, right? So if you want a little more of a challenge, and if you don't want the other challenge, you can just repeat that. Otherwise, bring these blocks right next to your hips and then push into the blocks so that the hips are off the mat. And we'll try it again. Lift the right leg, hold it, let it down. Lift the left leg, hold it, let it down. And then you can sit down for a second. How's that feel? Well, if you're saying, I would like more of that and even more intense, I got you covered. So you can repeat either one of those. Or for the last thing that I want to try here, is we're going to see if we can lift both legs up at the same time. So this is not as simple as it sounds. So what you want to do is lift your hips up and maybe slide the feet back a little bit. And then again, you could do the one at a time, or you could float both up. It's hard to talk doing this. And then lower it down. Woo! Oh, my quads. I love that one. And I had, a couple years ago, I herniated a disc in my back. It's the one L3, L4 that innervates the quad muscle. So whenever I do that move, there's one muscle here, it's the big one, rectus femoris, that is just like, oh, no, 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 no. But I tell that muscle, oh, yes, 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 yes. This is what we're doing, muscle. Don't take my advice on any of that. That's just my approach. Let's forward fold now. So inhale up and then just exhale. Just fold over your legs. You could either, you could grab your toes, you could grab your feet. If your feet are a distance away from you, go ahead, just take your strap, bring it around the balls of the feet and use that leverage just to fold forward a little bit. We're not really looking to strain anything here. It's just a chance to get into the hip flexors a little bit before we wrap up. They're on the other side of the hamstrings, I meant. The hamstrings are on the other side of the hip flexors, so we want to make sure that we're hitting them too. We hit them with a bunch of the poses, so I'm not super worried about that, but this is just a nice way to counter all that. You can just let this soften, and this is where you can start to let the spine curve if you'd like. Let the breath slow and start to return to its normal cadence. And then you can lift the torso if you're using the strap. You can get that out of the way. Let's come down onto our backs. Bend the knees. Plant the feet. And then what I'm going to recommend here is moving into a supported bridge. I know some of you are probably wanting an active bridge, in which case go for it. We're pretty warmed up, so you should be able to hit that pretty well. So you just raise the backs of your feet either way, and then lift the hips. If you're going to play around with that active bridge, you might want to roll your shoulders underneath, interlace your hands, press up through your heels. Don't let the knees splay. Otherwise, you can just grab one block or two blocks and get them under your sacrum, and then when you're ready, just lower the sacrum, the hips down onto the block. And now listen, if you are in active bridge, meet us in the supported bridge whenever you're ready. From supported bridge, before we do anything else, let's just straighten the legs out in front of us. And you can let the legs relax. It's one last little hello for our hip flexors before we end the flow. And you can stay there if that feels nice for you. Otherwise, go ahead and lift the legs up. You can bring your arms into a cactus shape or have them down by your hips. Doesn't matter that much where they are. We just want the legs lifted. Give them a little bit of a thank you for the work that they were doing. The work that they always are doing for us. Maybe point and flex your feet since you're staring at them. You can stay here really as long as it feels nice for you. But then when you're ready, go ahead, bend into the legs, plant the feet, lift the hips, slide those blocks out or that block. And then for a second, just walk your feet to the outer edges of the mat. Let those knees knock together. We're going to finish things up just with a spinal twist, just to release the back a little bit, get into some of those other muscles we didn't hit as much. So you can just bring your feet together. We're going to cross the right leg over the left, scoot the hips off to the right, knees come down to the left. I like to let my knees land on a block so that I'm not straining or worrying about that knee floating in the air. If your knee comes down to the ground, that's cool. You don't need the block. If this is too much, you could always uncross and just stack your knees. That's a perfectly fine twist. But really just let all the muscles relax here. Let everything release. If you're holding any tension anywhere, just see if you can use one of those exhales to let it go. Take another round of breath. And then you can inhale the legs back up through center. Uncross, recenter everything on the mat. This time we're crossing the left leg over the right. Hips are scooting off to the left. Knees are dropping down to the right. Maybe the left arm reaches off to the left. Again, giving that little scan to see if you're holding tension. Sometimes we hold tension in weird places. You might be furrowing your eyebrows or clenching your jaw. Feeling some tension in the shoulders. Just see if you can give everything permission to relax. And then from here, go ahead, bring the knees back up to center, uncross. Let's pull both knees into the chest, curling up into this little ball. Again, rolling around if that feels good. And then we're just going to set up for our Shavasana here. So it's up to you. You can do a traditional Shavasana with just the legs outstretched. That's probably a good one after this flow. Hands are by your sides, palms are facing up to the ceiling. You can just rest this way. And give yourself a couple minutes here. You can just let the video play out. The Shavasana gives us an opportunity to just, rest and rejuvenate a little bit, letting the benefits of the practice really just soak into the muscles and into the nervous system. So, I'd recommend at least 5 minutes. And then when you're ready, you can just make your way carefully up. So that was our hip flexor flow for today. Again, these are muscles that a lot of us use just all the time in our activities. We like to stay fit, so we're upright, we're moving quick, we're contracting the muscles, we're doing all that stuff that we should be doing, right? And we want to keep doing that. We also want to take some time to just get into the muscles and really give them an extra ring, right? Like squeeze it out, stretch them out, strengthen them a little bit more so that they continue to provide that strength and that stability for our hip joints and for our ability to keep doing the stuff that we love to do. So if you like this flow, go ahead, please hit the like. That helps other people find this stuff. If you don't want to miss a flow, go ahead and hit the subscribe and the little bell thing. You can go ahead and do that. And as always, if there's something you'd like to see in the way of a flow or targeting a certain part of the body, just go ahead and leave it in the comments. I do check the comments, and that's something that we could do in a future flow. So thank you for flowing with me. I hope to see you again on the mat.